Hi, welcome back to Projects with Everyday Dave. Today I'm going to show you how I installed these power solar shades in these 9-foot tall windows. It was a little bit of a challenge to get them run perfectly straight for that distance, so I'm going to show you the tricks that I discovered to make them run up and down nicely and to line up perfectly when they get to the bottom. So I'll show you what I came up with and how I did that. So stick around, let's take a look, and I'll go through the details. All right, our blinds have arrived. Let's open the box and see what's inside. All right, we have 2 rolls in here. There's a special warning not to remove the bands until you install them. That's these bands that keeps this unit nice and tight together until we install it. Here's the plug, the sliding bracket, and the antenna. 2 power supplies with the matching plug. In my case, we're going to run wires in the ICF walls and plug these in the basement. So in another video, I'll show you how to run those wires and extend the length of this if you want to plug it in somewhere other than right where the blinds are. The instructions, installation instructions, extension cables for the power supplies, and the brackets that we'll use to mount these units. They have a lot of available materials with these particular blinds. These are Bali blinds, and the color that we ended up choosing was stovepipe with the 1% penetration, which is what allows the minimum amount of light through that you can get. And this particular material is actually, it feels really robust. You can't tear it, and even when you twist it around, it still stays very flat, so it doesn't warp easily. I did notice that the 2 material colors that we chose to have samples for, they do feel a little different. This particular color is shiny nickel. It feels a little thinner, even though it's also a 1% see-through. But all in all, the material is heavy weight. It feels nice, it feels quality, and it hangs really well in the window. And this color matches our walls and trim pretty well, so that's why we went with it. Okay, here's all the components we're going to work with. We have our blinds, we have our 2 mounting brackets, an extension cable, a power supply, and a remote control. This is the Bali remote control that goes with these blinds. It allows me to control each one individually or all of them together or in sets, however I want to do it. I can also control them manually with this button on the side of the unit. So if I want to run them up and down while I'm trialing things, I can just push this button and it starts, stops, and moves them up and down. We have the power connection cable, the antenna. The left side has the push button mount that centers it and allows it to flex right to left while I slide it over and use the hooks to set the other side. So now we have all our parts. Let's go ahead and get them installed.
Because my walls are ICF, I could take a 2.5-inch chunk out of the foam, and the 1/2 inch of drywall gives me 3 inches to work with to perfectly recess the blinds behind the trim. I measured up from the bottom to make sure the blinds were at exactly the right height on both sides and marked that center line. I then made a template of the diameter of the blinds and marked where the bracket would need to mount, and then just used that piece of paper for all of my trim to get them all exactly the same. Then I could just mark the holes through the brackets and drill them out so that they didn't split the wood. I used some sheet metal screws so I'd be able to put a wrench on them later if I need to get into a tight spot to make an adjustment up or down if the blinds aren't perfectly level. Then I just shot the screws in and the brackets are mounted and we're ready to go. Then I lifted the entire assembly into the window frame and made sure it was perfectly level. I need everything to be plumb and level because these windows are very tall and I want the blinds to run straight. I have a power cord wrapped up behind the top, ready to receive the blinds, and I painted a black strip around the bottom and the corners to make sure you wouldn't see anything behind.
Okay, let's set the blind in its brackets. First, gotta align the pin to the hole. Okay, connect the power. Pull the antenna out, then we can remove the paper. This button will allow us to initiate the blind. Okay, you can see the blinds are running a little bit longer than we want them to, which we can adjust with the control setting. So I'll just select the channel, and I want channel 1. And then I'll hold down the menu button, select shade, hit the menu button, select limits, hit menu right, and then hold down the menu right button. Select the shade I want. In this case, it's shade number 4 by pushing the menu right button to 4. Then I will hold it down again. The shade bumps, letting you know that you've selected it. Now I can use the up and down arrows to adjust the position to where I want it to be. Hold it down for big movements and just click it for small ticks. When I have it where I want it, I select right to adjust. Keep that setting, and it locks it in. If I'm not happy, I can just go back through that menu again. The blind is touching on one side and gapping on the other. And we know the bottom is level, so probably the top just needs adjusted. I'll make a slight adjustment up there, and then we'll try again. When we look at it closely, we can see as it rolls up, it's telescoping to the left. We can make an adjustment to that as long as everything's already level and square. There's some misalignment in the roller. We can make some adjustment to that just by adding some tape at the very end. You can push this button. That'll start it rolling down. Now I can add some tape here to the roller, and that will make this end slightly thicker and make the shade roll to the right instead of to the left, just based on how much thickness I add. Now as it rolls up, it's cascading off to the right more than we want it to, so I'll just remove some of that tape. And now we can see it's rolled up almost perfectly straight. So we're good to go. Well, I'm pretty happy with how these turned out. I really didn't want my blinds hanging out the bottom, so I really liked the way the recessed part turned out, and I didn't want to have batteries that I had to charge all the time, so I hardwired them. And I'll leave a link in the description on how I did that wiring, as well as a link in the description on how I did this trim. These windows are 9 feet tall. I was worried that I wouldn't be able to keep the blinds straight all the way down, and I showed you how I tuned that. It turned out pretty well. They have a weighted bar at the bottom that helps keep them flat and straight. Even though there is a little bit of a light leakage around the sides, I have white trim and there's a 3/4 inch gap on each side. Because they're so thick, they block out most of the sun and it achieves what we were trying to do. These are west facing windows. The sun starts to get low and it blinds you when you're sitting on the couch. So now we can just hit the button and it takes care of that. I'll also leave some links in the description for some other videos you might find interesting, so stick around, check them out. Thanks for joining.